So OpenAI made a bunch of big updates to Codex, their AI coding agent, and they also expanded it to all the paid plans. So previously it was just on the enterprise plan. Now it's available on the other lower tiers. And so I'm super excited to be playing with it today and sharing some of my initial thoughts and reactions to it, as well as some tips and tricks on how to use Codex. All right. So the first thing you need to do is go to the Codex tab you'll find in ChatGPT. So you could go to the main OpenAI Codex page or just go straight to the tab you'll find inside of ChatGPT instance. And when you enter Codex, you'll see something like this. Well, if you're entering it for the first time, you won't see this. You'll go through some sort of onboarding process where they ask you to connect your GitHub account, and you'll have to select one project from your GitHub projects to create a new environment. And so this is your sort of environment for that specific project. It's connected to that GitHub repository. And then you can come in here and chat with the agent and ask it to do things for you. And it goes and does that with that repository. So I'm going to explain how it works here. As you can see, there's a main chat bar. It's kind of like ChatGPT where you come in and you describe something. Now, there's two ways you can interact with this. The first is you can say explain the code base or some sort of thing. You can ask it to explain the entire code base or to just answer specific questions about the code or about a function, and you use the ask mode here, right? So in the ask mode, the agent doesn't actually edit code. It just reads through all of your code and answers questions that you've asked it. The second way to use it, as you can see, is a code mode. So in code mode, you actually just give it a task. You tell it, as you can see here, a bunch of tasks. You could just tell it to fix a bug in the code base, right? Create a sign-up flow. Add a user profile section, improve the UI and UX. So you just give it these tasks and say code, and it starts to run them. Now, the cool thing is you could just give it multiple tasks and it runs all of those tasks in parallel. So I gave it a bunch of tasks here, as you can see already, and it just started working on them in parallel. And every time you give it a task, it sort of first reads through your entire documentation, and then it creates a new virtual instance and starts to work on that task. So I'm going to show you some examples. I gave it an ask task where I asked to explain the code base. So, if you have a team of engineers and they're working on this code base together, a junior engineer can come in and ask questions about the code base and get up to speed on it. And so you can see here, once I said that, it worked for 2 minutes and 18 seconds. And you can see all the logs. And the logs are basically showing you what it's actually doing. It opens various files. The first thing it always does is looks for an agents.md file. I didn't have this in my project, and I think it's a good practice to start creating agents.md files, markdown files that explain to AI agents what this project is about. I don't have that, but I do have readme files. So so it went through my readme files, checked it, then it looked through my entire code structure. And once it understood the code, it then explains everything, right? So it hears an explanation, what it is, what it does, the overall structure, various routes and pages and stuff that I have set up in the code, the various integrations and so on, right? And it even suggests what should you look at next, right? What can you do next with this code? So that's just the ask mode. Another cool thing I did was I asked it to go through the entire code base, find issues, and propose tasks to fix typos, to fix bugs, comments, so on. So again, it worked for 11 minutes, right? And it goes through the same process where it starts with looking through my README documentation, my agents.md documentation, if I have it, goes through all the code, and then comes up with a list of ideas for tasks. And this is really cool. So you can actually just say, start the task from here, and it takes this little task here and it starts a new task on top of it, and it starts coding through that task. All right, I'm going to show you the coding tasks now. So I asked it to create a sign up and sign in flow because the project didn't have it. And really cool, it actually just went through and created an entirely new sign up and sign in onboarding experience. So it worked here for about 3 minutes. Again, went through all my documentation first and then started going through the actual code. And then it created a new component, auth context to manage the registration, login, logout, and so on. And then implemented login form page. It implemented a registration page. And so you can see all the new files it's created here are modified. So it modifies the app page with the new auth context. It modified the component for like the login and sign up buttons. It created the auth context and then created the sign in and sign up pages. And so I can actually go and see in each one of these where it's made changes, what changes it's made, and then what new pages and code it's created. And so with this whole new feature now, basically it hasn't changed the code on my GitHub yet. It created a new branch or cloned my code, spun up a little virtual environment, wrote the code, tested it. As you can see here, it's tested and it's actually passed the tests. And then it's presenting it to me here. And now I can go and create a pull request. And so that pull request goes into my GitHub now. And then my other developers, maybe my human developers, can look at the pull request, go through it, test it out again, and then merge it with my main code. And so it's amazing to see here, like, you're just giving it tasks like you would a junior engineer. It goes, it creates a virtual environment, gets the code, writes new code, changes code, does stuff. And then when it's ready, it runs tests on its own. And when it's done, it sends it back to you after the tests have passed. And if the test failed, it corrects it and then sends it back to you. And then you can view the code here, go to create a pull request, and then test it yourself and push it back into your code. So it's like safe, secure. It doesn't directly change your code, but it does all of these tasks in parallel, and it does it in just a few minutes. And you can treat it like a sort of a junior engineer that's on your team. So go try it out. It's Codex, which you can find on inside ChatGPT. Another couple of things I would say is when you are giving it tasks, don't do what I did, which is I'm just testing it out, but be very specific about the task you're giving it. So try to break up your tasks into smaller bite-sized pieces, like contained tasks. You could go as big as a feature, but nothing super complicated. So, sign-in flow is a good idea to try as a task if you haven't built one, or a user profile section, which it did here. And then be a little more specific about what you want it to do. So tell it specifically, hey, I want a user profile section where it captures the name, email address, a bio, a profile image, and then you can change your password. So just describe it out. Maybe explain a bit more in what you want there and how you want it to work. And then it actually goes and does all of that stuff based on what you've described. The other thing I would say is create an agents.md file. I've got README files, so that's good too. So if you have README files, it's fine. But it starts off with agents.md. So just create an agents.md file where you are describing the entire project to an AI agent. And if you don't know how to write that file, just ask the AI. So go to ChatGPT or Gemini and say, hey, help me build an agents.md file for this project. And it'll write it for you. And then you put that into your documents in your project. So that's OpenAI's Codex, one of the many AI agents that are out there. Google Gemini has Jules. Claude has Claude Code. Cursor actually just released AI agents, and I'll be testing all of them out and sharing them with you, but they all work the same way. An AI agent is essentially something you give it a task, it goes, figures it out, and comes back with an answer, and that's it. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think of Codex. If you've tried it out, or if you're eager to try it out, let me know in the comments.